Merry Christmas, mamas. So, we are here for some homemade tortillas and some talk about biblical birth, okay? So, what better way to celebrate this season where we celebrate God's birthday, even though we know Jesus wasn't born on Christmas. But in this season where we have the opportunity to share the good news of Jesus and honor the fact that he did come, that he was born of a woman, and that he did come and live the life that we can live, let's take a look at his word and what he has to say about birth, okay? Because, I mean, if we're celebrating the birth of Jesus, let's see what his word says about birth to begin with. Because, mamas, once you get into this, once you look and see, the word's got something to teach you for every season of your life, because it shows us who God is, and God never changes. And so, for that reason, this is what we're talking about. Every day, we'll be sharing about a Bible verse that talks about birth, and we'll dissect it. We'll talk about it. I'll give you some talking points, and I encourage you to go and kind of use this as a little mini devo to help encourage you to go deeper in the Word with God about your birth. Okay? So if you're here for it, stick around. Hey, my name's Leslie. I'm a disciple, wife, mom, and childbirth doula, and this is my channel where I share about all things birth, faith, and family. And today, we are starting off with Genesis 3:16, because why not? Let's just start from the beginning, right? I think everyone's misconception, everyone always just assumes, like, you know, this is the curse, this is what women were given, you gotta deal with a painful labor. That's just what God promised. Now, one, nowhere in the text does God curse man or woman. He curses the land and he curses the serpent. But go ahead, go on, open up to Genesis 3. You will see that God never curses the woman or curses the man. He does give them, however, a consequence to their sin. And this is the woman's consequence, as it reads in Genesis 3:16. God said to Eve, I will increase your sorrow and your conception. I will multiply your sorrow and your conception. In sorrow, you will bring forth children. Okay? Then it goes on to say, and your desire will be for your husband, and he will be over thee, right? He will rule over thee. Then for the man, it says, because of you, I curse the land, and you will eat of it in sorrow. Same word, etzeb, used to talk about what the woman will experience, is the same word used in Genesis 3:17 to say the man will also work in that same way to have to get food from the land. So what does that tell us? That farming is going to be excruciatingly painful? As painful as childbirth? I think that if you told somebody that is what God had said in his word, people probably look at you sideways. Like, what do you mean? Gardening? Me maintaining my homestead and all of that stuff is not the same as giving birth. Well, according to God's word, he's giving it the same condition. Sorrow. Okay? That word is nowhere else in the Bible translated as pain. Only that one verse, Genesis 3:16. Everywhere else, etzeb is translated as labor, toil. It's even translated sorrow. It's even grief, like grievous, but it's only translated as pain that one time. Why? I don't know. Je ne sais pas. What I will say is that it does make you think, and it does make you start seeing that God's intention was not for us to experience all of this horrible pain that we can't manage, all of this suffering. That's the biggest thing that I want you to take away from today, is that, do you see men suffering over land? Like over getting some plants to grow? Or has the land that's been toiled and actually worked well and fertilized and taken care of and upkept, has it not borne fruit? Does it not? If you fertilize the land, if you till the land, you plant the seed, you water it, you make sure it gets enough sun, you care for it, you weed it, does it not bear fruit? Yes. Does it take some work? Yes. Is it hard work? Yes. They call it labor for a reason. Okay? And so in that same way, that's what God is saying. There will be for birth. It's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be just like a walk in the park. That's what it says, right? Like, just like the man is gonna have to do some work to get the land to bear fruit, whereas in the Garden of Eden, he didn't have to work. All the trees were there, all the fruit was there. All he had to do was upkeep it. Now he was going to have to leave that land and have to work it all from the ground up on his own. Okay? So when God is talking about that same kind of sorrow, that same kind of labor, that same kind of increase of hard work that will be added on to the woman having babies, the implication there should not be that there's going to be there's going to be excruciating pain and suffering for one and not for the other. I don't see that. It's not in the text. It is in the culture, but it's not in the text. And so I'm going to leave y'all with that thought for today. Okay, so as you think about your birth, and hey, you may have already experienced birth, so you may be like, Leslie, I don't know what you're talking about. That was the most painful thing I've ever experienced. Listen, I've had birth too. It's not a walk in the park, okay? I've had various degrees of discomfort during my different labors. But I'll be honest with you, especially the first time I went in, I went in with the understanding that God does not expect me to suffer. God, you are not trying to have me suffer through this process. I may experience some pain, I may experience some discomfort. I actually wanted to prove myself I could handle it. So if you want to hear my birth stories, all that explanation, all that, I've got a whole playlist. I'll link it below. But all of that to say that God does not want you to suffer. And that is not what the word says. The word does not say that you are meant to suffer during birth. The word says it will be hard. The word says it will be hard work. There will be hard work involved in, there will be hard work involved in the pregnancy, and maybe even, he said in the and your conception, right? That he would multiply your conception. So in the conception, in the birth, right? It does say there's going to be some hard work. We have to do our part. We prepare in the things that we can do to prepare. But in the same way that you have to put hard work in to grow your garden, is the same way you have to put some hard work in to prepare for birth. Okay? And I hope that encourages you to know that you're not just at the whims of, oh, I just have to suffer because of Eve, or I'm just expected to have this excruciatingly painful experience. It's just not in the word. It's not what God said. And so we are debunking that this December, and we're going to go through and see what the word actually does say. Okay? With that, I will let you guys go. God bless you, and I will see you in the next one. Merry Christmas. Hey mamas, so I'm over here editing, and I just wanted to insert just a quick little tidbit on just how you can practically apply what I shared today into preparing for your birth, okay? When I'm talking about the pain that people experience during birth and the ability that you do have to have a pain-free or a birth with less pain, I think what's very important is that you take a look at understanding that, one, pain has to do with perception, okay? Fear, tension. If you ever heard of the fear, tension, pain triangle and how they all work together, then you will understand that that is the driver behind the pain that people feel during birth. That is what intensifies the discomfort that you're feeling, the intensity of the contractions. It's intensified by fear and by tension in the body. Fear starts in your mind, causes tension in the body, and therefore that tension fighting against the contraction causes pain, the perception of pain to even be that much more increased. So that's the science behind it. Let's take a look at what we could actually do. Okay, so one, helping to prepare yourself for physically for the intensity of labor is something that you can do. I recommend different physical preparation programs such as Body Ready Method. I recommend making sure your body is balanced, making sure your body is relaxed, making sure your body is as making sure your body practices as much as you can, not tensing up when the contractions come can really, really help. I also truly believe that labor doesn't have to be long and painful. I think that if you know different positions that can be done and different things that can be, and you know how to do different moves so that baby is not malpositioned and things like that. There are things that can be done to help speed up labor and to also help make it more efficient and more of a functional birth for you in your body. And so for that reason, I just think that there's also practical ways for us to do this. It's not just everything God says is backed up by the word. There's people out here, countless people, with all of these ways to, how to make, how to have a unmedicated natural birth and all of this stuff. And like, God, the thing is that these are not just things for the world. These are things that God has for his daughters, that God has for his children. And so I encourage you, mama, to look into it further, to seek God's heart for like, Lord, what are things that I can be doing so that I can help to minimize my discomfort during labor, so that I don't feel like I'm suffering, so that I can manage the pain, so that it doesn't feel intolerable or insufferable to me. And I don't feel like eager, like I must have the epidural or I must have the medication, but that I am able to cope and manage well. What are things that I can be doing? So there's things that you can physically be doing to help prepare your body. There's things that you can mentally be doing to let go of the fear that you have surrounding that, and practicing not holding that tension in your body, but also surrounding yourself with the support team that will help you to be able to do this. So I hope that encourages you, mama, that what the word says here in Genesis 3 is not a curse to you. Okay? It's not a curse to you. It is there are consequences to sin, but thank God for what he did on the cross. But this is not this suffering during birth is not is not what God wants for us. And when we talk in the next video and you hear about the first birth ever recorded in the Bible, you'll see not once does she say that, not once does she talk about it being so much suffering and so much pain, but rather praises God at the end of it. So we'll see that in the next one. Okay. All right. With that, I'll leave you guys. Bye.